Hi, and a very good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing great. Well, 2020 has sure been quite a year, hasn't it? March to October has been one word, I guess, quarantine. And with this, there were a lot of changes that kind of entered our lives, including digitization. Today, what we're going to cover will be the threats that surround digitization. I'm Sakshi Soi. I will be your host for today. I'm the founder of ProwS Learning and Consulting. And with me, I have Major General Sanjay Soi, who's the co-founder of ProwS Learning and Consulting. Hi, Major General Soi.
Hi, good evening. Thank you.
All right. So, General Soi has served the Indian military forces for more than 36 years as part of the Naga Regiment. He retired in 2018, and his second innings have been pretty eventful, as he puts it. He is the co-founder, of course, like I mentioned, of ProwS Consulting. He is a fellow at the Center of Land Warfare Studies. He's the advisor of Amity Journal of Happiness and Peace, Director Strategy Affairs of India-Namibia Trade Forum, among many others. He served a lot of postings in Kashmir and currently shares his knowledge as a defense expert on several news channels. And he mentors UPSC aspirants to prepare for interviews. A quick introduction about what we do here at ProwS. We work with one singular mission in mind: building leaders of tomorrow by making industry knowledge and future skill proficiency accessible to everyone. How we do this is via our live project-based training sessions, which focus on application of concepts for colleges and corporates. And we also conduct weekly live discussions with industry experts who bring their prowess to the platform. See what I did there? Prowess. All right. This week, we welcome all of you to our Expert Connect session on a subject that matters to all of us: threat to data security. Our industry expert for the evening is Mr. Devender Kumar, a Chief Information Security Officer at TMF Group. Hi. All right. So, Mr.
You can
Devender
say
comes.
again, you missed it for some time. You can repeat his introduction again.
Oh yes, I'm actually going to give a more elaborate introduction about Mr. Devender. So Mr. Devender comes with more than 26 years of experience in information security, business continuity, and risk management for large corporations like Emphasis, Accenture, EXL Service, and more. And with his prowess in cybersecurity and data privacy, I'm personally really looking forward to learn about the vulnerabilities and threats to our personal data in the cyberspace. Interestingly, very recently, there had been a case that kind of came to our notice where someone we know fell prey to a similar situation, a scam online, right? Financial scam for that matter. And I would now, first of all, welcome Mr. Devender. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Sakshi. Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure to be live with you and with Major General Sanjay Soi. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. General Soi, I'll hand over the stage to you to take the discussion forward.
In fact, the topic is so live and so relevant and need of the hour in the present scenario, because the kind of digitization which has taken place in everybody's life, the Internet of Things, and it is part of day-to-day life of us personally as well as the corporates. So, in fact, because of COVID, I would say that future has come faster than we could think of. So, with this, the number of frauds have also gone up. As a common man, like I'm yes, a non-technical, I'm from infantry, but my Sakshi has just brought out. So, and a lot of people like me would like to know that what kind of frauds and common frauds we see and hear about. We have been seeing some of these, like lottery scam used to be there earlier, or somebody gives 1+1 pizza and then asks for the OTP and withdraws money. So how could you just elaborate more on this, Mr. Devender?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yes, I agree. There are a lot of online frauds and a lot of such things which are happening these days. It's not that they were not happening in the world prior to cyber, prior to online world. These things used to happen in the physical world. As the world is moving online, the frauds have also moved in online. So it's just the similar frauds. They're happening maybe in a different way in the online mode. And a lot of time people are not familiar how to use these new gadgets, how to use these new online platforms, how to use what they've got, and they end up becoming victim to some of these online frauds. There are many type of frauds. Yes, you're right. There are many type of frauds which are happening. Especially one of the major ones are the online payment fraud. From consumer standpoint, that's one of the major fraud which happens. And then in the corporates, you see many frauds or many of these things which trigger via phishing mail. Not that end users don't get phishing mail, they do get, and they also become a victim of many frauds due to phishing mails. And so there is a long list which goes on. There are frauds which happen through the calls. There are frauds which happen through the in WhatsApp. There will be somebody who will replace the picture of somebody you know and give you a call and try to influence you. So a lot of in all of these frauds, what you will find there is a social engineering techniques which are used. Either they take you into the
Okay.
confidence or they threaten you. And finally, list goes on. Even the online dating and romance related frauds also happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in fact, you know what you're saying, social engineering. It means that they play with your emotions, they play with your
Yes.
greed at times, or they play with the trust factor which they build up over a period of time. Like I remember just now when you're talking, I remembered one of the incident. I got a mail from one of my friend. Uh, he knew me. We met him a few times. He said, "Okay, I'm sailing, and then why don't you join us on 22nd of next month for our Golden Jubilee celebration?" I said, "Fine, this is good." And though we know them very well, but fine, they've invited us. So I confirmed, okay, it will be our pleasure to join you. So after 10 days, I receive another mail that I am sailing, but not in touch with the people and not able to contact my people. And one of my contractors doing the repair work in Jalandhar needs some urgent money because the whole work has stopped and the monsoons are about to start. And could you just transfer some money there and all that? Just confirm it, then I'll let you know the account details and all. So just very simple, first invited and then I did not respond. Somehow my sixth sense prevailed. I said there's something wrong because if he can send a mail, he can call up. Although he can make other make use of other means of communication. But one of my friend he transferred 1 lakh rupees, and but then yes, later on he approached cyber cell, and after a couple of months, some money was recovered. But yes, it is that's how they gain the trust factor, and the story was built up there. So I mean, what happened? What kind of steps we can think of? Like there are many apps. I mean, and suppose this kind of thing happen, what should the people do? What kind of actions do you recommend people should take? This is happening. I think everybody must have fallen prey once, or attempt must have been made on each and every one of us once or twice.
Yes, yeah. I think you're right. Almost, I'm sure everybody who has got anything to do online must have been at least attempted today, if not
Yes,
really fell prey to this, or if was not
yes,
the victim, at
absolutely.
least I'm sure has seen one or two attempts in last couple of years. Everybody has seen it, and you did the right thing by stopping that attack at right time. But not everybody is so alert. Everybody is not really so careful, and and what happens most of these cases, these attackers or hackers, whatever word you want to use, these guys just latch on to the one information about you. So in this case, for example, he may be knowing you, and he may be knowing, okay, there is a function which is coming up, which may be of your interest, and he took a common topic which is of your interest, and from there he decided to latch on. He he would have
Actually, he sent
taken,
that
yeah,
mail to the complete address list of my friend. He
yeah,
must have hacked his email account. So everybody was sent that mail. So out of maybe
yes.
200, even if two people, three people have responded, he made his
Yeah,
money.
he made his money. Absolutely right. He made his money. So we have to be careful these days to whom we are responding on mail, whose call we are receiving, what are we talking, what sort of information we are disclosing, even our online presence. Lot of things can be learned by online presence. Today, you can find out which school somebody went to, the college you went to, the year in which you graduated, and then you can always find one more linkages. So all somebody has to win your trust. He has to say, okay, I was in this batch, this year, this place. He has to tell you one event. That's all.
Yes,
And
absolutely
in
right.
those days when we graduated, we didn't have these online presence, because what has happened, we have connected with our batchmates now, maybe in last 10 years, last 15 years, because we
Yes.
were, it's not that right from the college we've been in touch through these online modes. So yes, these frauds are do happen. So I think coming back to your question, what is that individual should do? There are a lot of these apps which are there, and what is that somebody should do? So my first suggestion is always download apps from the official store. So whether it is Apple or Google, go to Google Play Store, go to Apple App Store, and download from there. So don't try to download an app from other means. Don't Because that's the first thing you should do. And
Okay.
second, very
Right.
important thing is, all of us have mobiles. All of us use all these gadgets. Always update the OS. Always update the app. So a lot of time people think it is going to take my data. Let me not update. It's a 1 GB update. My bandwidth will be gone. Let me not do it. Let's not do that, because all these updates, patches which come to the operating system of the phone, which come to the apps, these are all very, very critical. They're usually security fixes. If you don't
Okay.
update, you may be a victim over there. So always update your phone, update your operating systems, update your information. Look at what are you disclosing on social media. Is it needed? Maybe there are times when it's a business requirement, you have to do that. uh, Look at your comments on social media. Who can read? uh, I've seen a lot of people, the moment they reach airport, traveling to London at so and so airport, they'll reach the resort. First thing, upload a photograph. This is my current location. Now you're telling someone that, okay, by the way, I'm not at home.
Yes.
You can go to my home now,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
almost everyone today sends friend request to you, whether I mean anyone and everyone. So any service which you consume in your neighborhood, whether it's the guy who does your ironing, or the guy who does cleans your car, or whatever. There's so many services you consume, and all of them have your number. And I'll not be surprised that sometimes some of these guys, some of the people whose number are there in your phone may also be friends with you on Facebook, and you're
Yeah.
disclosing to the entire world what are you doing. So I think avoid that. When you download an app, you can look at the app and see how many people have downloaded. If you think you're downloading, let's say, a payment related app, there will be a certain million downloads. You cannot be the first, second, third, or 100th user of the app which you're downloading. Look at the rating of that app. Look at the comments. When you get into the detail, app tells you what sort of permissions are needed. And then when you install the app, just don't say yes, 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 or give all the permissions because app is asking. If you look at the modern phones, the latest operating systems which are there, any brand, they give you a lot of granular access, saying, I want to give access to the phone book. Why do you want? Think about it. Is it needed? Is it not needed? Access to my photographs. Is it needed? Not needed. So think each and every part of it, and then take your decision. and try to be as granular as you can be. It will always help you with regard to the apps.
That's right. I think that's very right. In fact, you have really brought out one thing, that one has to be very selective what kind of permissions to be given, because that is one doubt which always remained, and at times because of this fear also, a lot of people are not upgrading their apps or on the mobile what to do, what actions to be taken, and frankly, you cannot remain away from these gadgets. These have become part of our life, whether it is a mobile or laptop or computer or whatever things are there. And because of so much of permissions we give, at times you feel that is he prying in our privacy? He is getting access to my photographs, he's getting access to my contacts, he's getting access to my videos, audios. So what kind of prying could be there? What kind of privacy threat? How much privacy threat is one can think of? And yes, you have brought out that what precautions one must take to ensure that private data is secure. Yeah, Devender.
Yeah, yeah. So I gave some of those examples earlier to secure your private data as a consumer of these services. So we talked about the phone. There are things beyond phone as well. For example, I will recommend not to use free Wi-Fi, because if you use free Wi-Fi, there is a possibility the information exchange which is happening can be encrypted, your passwords can be captured. So avoid using the free Wi-Fi which you've got as a user. And finally, always protect your OTPs. There are, you look at all critical apps which are there, whether they're from government or from private sector, but if they're critical, they're sensitive, 99% there is an option to have the second factor of authentication, where a second factor comes, either a code comes on your email or code comes on your phone. So enable these features which are there. Some of those are enabled by default. Some of the apps give you the option. So make sure you use those options which are there. And then finally, like I said earlier, be selective what you disclose on social media. Don't put your numbers accessible to everyone on social media unless that's needed because of a business requirement. If it's a private number for a ordinary person, there is no reason to put your phone number on social media. You want to share your number with the people you know, not with everyone. But yes, if it's a business number, of course you want people to reach you. Of course you have to give your number. So these are some of the things I think users, from an end user perspective, you can do. If you look at the latest, for example, latest OS which has come for Apple, it even tells you if your mic is being used, if your camera is being used. So as soon as
Okay.
you log in, if your mic or your camera was being used, there is that yellow dot which comes, or there is a green dot which comes. You can look at it and see, and it tells you which app was using. So these are the things users should look at. I'm sure this feature very soon will be available in other places as well. Other thing you can do, look at your battery usage. All the phones, how
Okay.
old, how new they are, have something called battery usage by app. Look at why there is an app which you've never used in 6 months and it is consuming certain battery. Why is it doing that? Is that an app which you use frequently? Is it supposed to use the battery? If it is not supposed to use the battery, then there is something happening in the background. Probably time to delete that app, time to get away from that app. And be selective what you install on your phone. Don't just go ahead and install everything because it is free.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think those are some of the things which I thought on a personal level, at a domestic level,
Yeah.
what precautions one must take as an individual or at home. Because when we see a lot of now these days, children also have a lot of access to the mobile. that because of the classes taking at home, that they are also access to the laptops. So they also need to be made aware of the things which we need to think of. And now we can think of something at the corporate level or business level, at the bigger level, what things to be done.
Yeah,
Okay,
and one more
so
thing I would, so,
Yeah, yeah.
apology. One more thing I would like to
yeah.
add to that list of suggestions I had. Your old phone. These days, phone is something you keep buying new phone forever. What do you do with your old phone? Most of the time, you users exchange it because there is a discount if you give your old phone while buying the new phone. What do you do with your data? How safely you transfer the data, and how do you make sure your data is removed before handing over that phone to someone else? I think that's also people many a times they forget. They just hand over to the person who's sitting there, and he when you're buying the phone because somebody helped you to do the data transfer, your job is done, your new phone is working perfectly all right, and you move away from that store. So make sure that doesn't happen. You've satisfied yourself that every data, all type of data has been deleted, factory default resets have been done before you hand over your phone.
I think very, very important, very, very important, because unless we format it properly, and then we, like in army, if we cannot sell our laptops and all outside, we need to
Yeah.
destroy the hard drive. I mean, because the data remains, one can always extract the data. Is some sensitive data can be extracted. Yeah, Sakshi, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so I was actually coming in. One, we have a question from the audience. We'll take it up in a bit. You spoke about how some apps are given access, right? So at a time, I think most of the things you spoke about, I'm guilty of it all. I've posted on social media. I've downloaded apps I did not need. I have exchanged my phone because we were getting a discount. So a lot of learning for me. But I'm going to go back to the apps using your microphone or camera. So there's a lot of discussion around that these days, right? And you might see, it was a very good point you brought out, that you can go and check your battery usage by an application that you're probably not even using. Now, if I remove an application, does that mean that they don't have access to my contacts or my microphone and camera any longer? All that I have to do is remove the application. Is it true?
In almost 100% cases, yes, but like I said, almost. And second
Hmm.
thing, what happens with these apps, a lot of time, your data is not in your phone. Your data is stored somewhere else.
Hmm.
That's the data which will not be gone from their servers just because you've deleted the app. So that's why
That makes
I
sense.
brought up that point that don't, just because app is free, don't download. Do you really
Don't
need
allow
it?
it.
Do you trust whose app it is? Who's
Hmm.
publishing that app? So if you don't trust the that app, please don't download. And
Okay.
download when you need it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another point you'd spoken about the use of Wi-Fi. So, before we jump into the corporate sector discussion, I did want to kind of clarify these things. Now, all of us use a Wi-Fi over here. It's practically not possible to do work from home without Wi-Fi
Yep.
anymore. So, does it mean that don't use only public Wi-Fi, or even the personal Wi-Fi that we have at home makes us vulnerable, or there's a threat to us, let's say, yeah, the data that we
Okay.
use?
So first of all, no, I'm not recommending don't use Wi-Fi. You can't live without Wi-Fi today. All I'm suggesting is don't avoid using the free Wi-Fi.
Okay.
If it's someone
Yes.
else's Wi-Fi, just because you found Wi-Fi is available, there is no password. You connect to it and log in. If you are at the airport and airport is providing a Wi-Fi, then you be careful. You're only connecting with the official Wi-Fi and not just because you see something available. That my
Right.
comment was in that context. Now
Okay.
coming back to
Right.
the home, what happens at home? Home, we have to be careful that we change our passwords on Wi-Fi. How your Wi-Fi device is accessed. Have you gone and changed the password? You, as in, I'm not asking you, but I'm saying a general in suggestion that please go and change the password on your Wi-Fi, because these days what happens, once you may be getting a lot of guests at home. There are times when you have to allow them, give them access to your Wi-Fi. So you my recommendation will be, first of all, you enter the key. If you enter the key you've given, and that guest, do you want him to always have access? Um, and remember, once he's got the access as a user, and if you're not secured the admin of that router which you got, then he can get into that router as well. And many a times, these all our these home Wi-Fi's are configured by the service providers, by the telecom service providers, and I've seen a lot of practice where they'll say, okay, so this is the this is what is the key I'm putting. This is a password you can note down. Once this guy is gone, have you changed it? Many times they will say, okay, ma'am, come here, you enter the keys. So do you really change it after that? Now that key is there with this person. I'm not saying don't trust him, but at the same time, you have to be cautious.
That's very
So
interesting.
change those default passwords, change those keys. At times, just change it. Sometime, even if you're not giving it to anyone. So, and second thing is on the Wi-Fi, there are a whole lot of things around Wi-Fi. Which OS are you running? What sort of security of the Wi-Fi? We can't get into those technical discussions on this call, but there are a lot of things which are available. If you do Google search, you have to see what sort of encryption you're using. Is it safe? What sort of WTA and all you're using? So those are also a few other things which users should look at, or talk to your service providers, call their call centers. Even they, most of the times, they will also help you change these passwords. They will help you select the right options on your devices if you call their call centers.
Very interesting. I think that's a lot of information you've shared, Devender. I'm going to break from the personal aspect, right? Like where all of us get impacted directly, and I'm going to move towards the corporate now, especially because
But frankly, a lot of practical points you have given, and which
lot of
I
practice.
think lot of most of us, I would say 90% of us miss it out.
Yeah, I think guilty as charged. I
Yes.
think every point that you've spoken about, I've been like, okay, I have done this. All right. So, from a company perspective, given that you come with more than 2 decades of experience in that domain, right? Now, all of us have moved online. Everything has gone digital, from our banking system to the data. Data has been moving to cloud, like we've been talking about it for more than a decade now. But of course, it's picked up as work from home hit us. And it doesn't matter what industry it is, everything is now based in the cloud. So, it has definitely opened us up to more vulnerabilities. There's more threat to cyber attacks, let's say. What is happening on that front? If you could share with us from a company perspective or a corporate perspective, what is it that organizations are doing now to make sure that they are not at the receiving end or falling prey to these scams?
Okay, so you're right. In fact, the world has, I think, completely changed in last 6-7 months since this COVID has come in. This pandemic is completely changed the way we work. If not for all, for majority of the organizations, it has changed. Whether you are a school or a college or a university or a hospital, there is some amount of change. Even the government departments have seen a change how they work. And lot of sudden digitization which has taken place everywhere. You look around, everywhere there's sudden digitization, and it's not limited to just work from home. There were things for which you were required to physically go to a bank. There were things for which you were physically required to visit an office. Now it's changing. Now they're saying, okay, there is one more way, one more mode, one more channel to do some of those transactions, if not all. So it has changed, and all of us, if not all, many of us are working from home in current time. And if you look at the corporates, when majority of the workforce used to sit in office together in front of each other, and now somebody is working from home, from kitchen, somebody is working from home, from a living room, from a dining table, and everybody may not even have a proper space at home. We take it for granted that
Yes.
just because I have
Absolutely.
given you the flexibility to work from home, I mean, that's a favor, but that's not the case, because everybody may not have the space. because in your home you have children who are taking school classes. Your wife may
Absolutely.
be doing the job which you're doing, and suddenly you need that private space. So many private spaces which are needed at home to enable this work from home, and everybody doesn't have that kind of space. So
Yes.
that creates some sort of chaos at home, to be fair, in many houses, because they do not have the space. Earlier you used to work in an office which was quite calm, with all the technical controls being there, everything being there, with air conditioning and everything. And now suddenly there is a child who's crying, and I'm not complaining at all I'm saying, the scenario has changed. The employee who could focus in his work now has some amount of distraction, and people have to realize this, accept this. And another thing which I want to highlight, that remoteness makes a difference. When you're sitting in office,
Yes.
with your colleagues, you suddenly get a mail which you think looks to be not right. You see a transaction which looks to be fishy. What you do? There is a colleague, you will take an advice. But when you're sitting at home, you may have all the collaboration platform provided by your company. You may have all the tools to talk to anyone and everyone at any time. I'm not saying companies don't give you, everybody gives you that. But you will think twice before disturbing someone. Whereas if you are sitting in office, the person who's sitting next to you, who may be slightly more experienced, or a better expert on a topic, you can take an advice. Now, you will think twice before taking an advice, and that's the reality. And then look at the chaos which is happening at home, the environment which is at home. This has changed. Now, that's not the only change. A lot of other things have changed. When we did this overnight digitization, all of us, if not all of us, many of the companies did this overnight digitization. They overnight sent their employees to home because they want productivity, they want work to happen, business has to go on. Have you, in a very, very short period of time, you have made a lot of changes in your company. Go and review those changes. What sort of technical changes you've done? Were they all right changes? In the process, have you brought up a new vulnerability which needs mitigation? You might have left a configuration which should have been done differently, but because you were in a hurry, you made a mistake, or you consciously took that decision which puts you at a higher risk. So that's one thing which companies have to go and evaluate. Other thing, uh, many companies have their information security teams which were in office. All these employees were in office. They had incident responders who takes an action when they say something is going wrong. When on a device, on a tool, they see an alert, somebody has to work on it. Now there is an environment. Employees at home, this information security team is at home, or their security operations center employees are at home, incident responders are at home. It's a completely different situation. You just can't walk into that employee who was having some sort of suspicion on a transaction. The close contact is not there. So the companies which had their incident response teams, which they had these monitoring teams, there is a time to review that. There is a time to review that. How will you respond in this new world? How will you, are you as effective as you were in the world which was there 6 months back? So test your incident response plans once again. Test all of this response mechanism and your monitoring mechanism. Another thing, you were in office, all the employees were in office. Many mature companies have put a lot of security monitoring mechanism which looks at the traffic which is going, which looks at what is going on. Is there a threat? Is something going wrong? When now this employee is working from home, and I'm hoping is working from a company provided asset, how are you replicating those controls? And what has happened, and these companies were in different level of maturity when it comes to work from home. Some of them had the ability to allow their work from home. So instead of 100%, only 10% employees were working from home, but they had the ability. So they had thought about the control regime which is needed, and it's just that now 10 becomes 80, so maybe you just need some sort of upgrades to your infra, and maybe some additional control, and you can get going. But then there are a whole lot of other organizations which never allowed work from home, and now they've gone with work from home. Have you thought about all this? Have you built the right control? Have you thought security in the design of all of this which you're doing? So these are some of the things I think companies have to evaluate in the new world. Evaluate your incident response mechanism, evaluate your changes which you've done. So go back and review. Other thing
I
which I
think
would
that's
like to
a
add,
yes. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. So other thing which I would like to add is employees, when they were in office, like I said, they were given an environment. When they're at home, they're in completely different environment. So our business leaders, are they talking to employees, telling them what can go wrong? Are they doing something around user awareness, telling them that when you are at home, you have to be more vigilant than you were in office because of all the chaos around, because of the
Correct.
change environment? So are your business leaders talking to your employee and telling them what to look for? What are those common indicators you should worry about? So user awareness programs have become critical in current stages, and you may have to revamp your program. You may be telling employee many things which were in the past not, which are not as relevant because this guy is working from home. So you may have to tweak your even the awareness program in the current scheme of things. And that's not all. Incidentally, what happens to your supply chain? Have you
Mm.
gone back and looked at your supplier who's accessing your network from his office earlier? Now, for him also, the world has changed, not just for you. How they are dealing with this new reality? Have they built the right controls? How safe they are with this new change? So go and assess your vendors, suppliers, your supply chain, because in these days it's all connected world.
That's actually a very good point you bring out. I think so. The data for my customers is not going to be just with me. It is also shared with the vendors who are kind of catering. Maybe there's some service that we've outsourced or something. What are the kind of practices that they are following to ensure that my customer data is secure and private? That doesn't get leaked out. That's a very fair point. And interestingly, in there are some countries and some basically some regions that have implemented policies and acts to ensure that the data for the citizens of that particular place is secure, right? There are some guidelines that they have kind of rolled out. Like we have GDPR for the entire Europe region, and we have an act, I'm forgetting the term for it, for California citizens specifically.
Yeah.
So is there something that we have here in India that protects the citizens over here, or our data ensures that the right practices are put in place by every organization that's dealing in data for individuals and customers, irrespective whether it's my own customers or it's a vendor? Even if the vendor has our data or our information, they are bound by the same law and regulations to make sure that that data is protected.
So we have IT Act in India, which does cover these things partially, and the word is partially, not, of course, nowhere close to what a GDPR will do or what a California Act will do or what the many other countries have similar acts to protect the privacy of the individual or protect the data of its citizen. Nowhere close to that. But then there is a hope there, because there is already a data, there is a bill which is there, which is expected to come to Parliament in February next year, which is not too far. That's expected as of now. We are hoping that that gets passed, and we will also have a regime around data privacy, which mandates the protection of the data of our citizens, and which will have the right amount of regulation around it. But yeah, I think now it seems a reality. I'm hoping that it comes into the, it comes into the practice next year. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah,
In
actually, that
fact,
would be great to
I
know.
yeah, just wanted to add something what you mentioned earlier. The way digitization has taken place, what you rightly brought out, were the company able to empower their staff to work from home? Because what I noticed when I was discussing with some of my friends in corporate sector, that overnight they had to buy laptops. Overnight they had to hire laptops. Ultimately, there was a situation when laptops were not available for hiring. And then uh, once you get these things, like in office, what you have rightly brought out, the culture is there, the exchange of information, the sharing of information, and then there's a systems are there, which in your own house, you are on your own. You're a one man army, you can say that okay, whatever happens, I have to handle with it. And I also was talking to some people. They said that the data speed was not enough, the broadband was not
Yep.
good enough to sustain. Then they had to go for the upgradation. There's so many things which happened, and because of that, what you brought out, somewhere the security lapses can take place, which the systems have to put in place because the work from home is going to be the norm. Like I was discussing with somebody, he said, okay, Microsoft has given the option to its
It's
staff to
permanent.
work for lifetime.
Yeah,
You have the option to
it's
work.
done.
So that's the new norm. I mean, the full-time office may not be the thing in near future, maybe in times to come. Because even if the offices start, they may still say, okay, 20%, 30% people come
Yep.
and come twice a week, thrice a week. That kind of things will happen. So work from home will be the new norm, and we need to evolve measures, think of systems to ensure security of the this. Yes, Sakshi. This is something.
Okay, so all right, we have a couple of questions from the audience now. Before we move on to the last piece, which is where I want to cover how we would be using technology, or rather the new age technology, to counter these scams and frauds that are happening. We'll take up the questions first. So the first question that we have is from Naveen over here. He's asking, what do we do if we do fall prey? Right? Do we kind of send out? Do we file this incident with a cyber cell immediately, or what should the next step be? As an individual, if I fall prey to a scam like this, what should my next
Okay.
step be?
Yeah, very pertinent question and very relevant in the current world. So if you feel victim, if you are a victim of one of these online scams, uh, first thing, you will be using some sort of platform. So go and report it on that platform. Then and there, it just takes a second to report that you are a victim. This is what happened. If you have any screenshot, share the screenshot. If you have any number, anything about that event, whatever you can share that
Hmm.
information with the platform which you were using. Register a formal complaint, and it's not difficult to do. You can do it from the same app in most of the app applications. But if it was any other type of scam, then you may have to go and visit. So one is the platform which you were using. So register the complaint with the platform. Second is, if your, let's say your credit card was compromised, or the data went, or the money went out of your card or your bank
Hmm.
account, immediately reach the bank, formally submit a complaint. And third thing, don't forget to go to the cyber cell, cyber crime unit, depending upon the state, and go there and register your complaint. So these three complaints you have to register, and the copy of your FIR, the complaint which you filed with cybercrime, you make sure you submit the copy back to the bank and to your platform as well. So if you do these three things, there could be a possibilities, while it may not happen immediately, that you may get some sort of refund. Of course, bank will do its own investigation. They have their own processes. If they
Hmm.
see that it is not because of you, or so, but what will happen, we'll see later. But these three things, don't forget: your platform, your bank, and cybercrime. So please file a complaint with these three places.
Got it.
And
Okay.
in Indian context, that's required.
Yes. I think very recently I like ah, during the introduction I had spoken about a specific case that came out recently, right? That I got to know of. So that happened on OLX for a second-hand purchase. So somebody is wanting to purchase, and so what I would understand is first report it on OLX itself that this is a particular profile that is running a scam, right? It's kind of duping people or doing a fraud. The second would be the bank from where that particular person lost money, and the third aspect would be the cybercrime cell. Is that correct?
That's correct. You talked about a particular platform, but in general, my advice is to the listeners is that be careful with your passcodes. For example, the example which you were taking in this case. What happens, you're supposed to receive the payment. So what happens, I've seen people becoming victim when they have to receive, when they're selling something. So
Hmm.
usually you're used to that, how to make the payment in that app, but you do not know how to receive the payment. And this guy calls you and he makes you click on something. He sends you many a times a QR code, which is for this guy receiving the payment. So that's for getting the payment from you. So you scan that code and he makes you click on the call, either by taking you into the confidence or by threatening you or whatever way. So those
Yes.
are the times when people become victim because they have not done that transaction in the past.
Hmm.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, you
I
are
think
right.
something
In fact, a
similar
lot of
happened.
some these scamsters use the army ranks or army this thing name because to build a trust factor. What you're saying is absolutely right. That to build a trust factor, the other person is ready to share the money or transfer some money. Yes, Sakshi, you're saying.
Okay, so I'm going to move to the next question, which we have from Ms. Harshita Kapoor. So she's asking if an antivirus software is sufficient to combat virtual vulnerability.
Okay. So is it sufficient? No. Is it must have? Yes, it is must have. Because it's a combination of things. It's not just one thing. I say if I have an antivirus, I'm safe, I'm secure. No, that's not the case. Uh, and then it's antivirus. Are you updating it? First of all, the traditional AV, which was based upon signature, has become thing of the past now. So technology has moved forward with a lot of AI, ML coming in. Technology has moved forward, and you have to use the latest endpoint protection, which are there. I will not get into the products, but if let's say you have a Windows machine, even the for a normal home user, what comes free with that, if you configure it, if you update it, that's good. That's really good. Is what will be my recommendation. But yeah, I'm not suggesting to don't use other products, and I'm nowhere talk going against a product versus product. That's not something I want to do. But yeah, have something definitely. Then no, that's not all. Please apply all the patches, apply all the security patches on your laptop, desktops, whatever you're using at home, and make sure you're using the legitimate copy of the OS in order to receive the patches. So apply the patches, have a good endpoint protection. Even the one which comes by default with Windows, like I said, is good enough for you at home. So please use it. That's one. Update it regularly. Update your patches regularly. Many a times, because these patches run in gigabyte in GBs, you try to save your bandwidth, and many times people don't apply. Many times, if it is not applied, you try to apply, it fails, and you just ignore it. So don't do that. They are critical. And then there are a whole lot of things which we talked about from user standpoint, what to look for. Familiarize yourself what a phishing mail looks like, how to avoid it. And throughout this discussion, we've been talking on about so many precautions which you have to take. You have to take all those precautions. Just having a AV will not save
Okay.
you
Will
from all
not
the
be.
problems. but it is needed.
Right.
Okay, I have a question here. Now, I am technologically not the most well-equipped person, especially when it comes to information security.
Yeah.
So my question would be on what's a patch? What is patching in information security?
Okay. So my suggestion is, if you're not technically qualified, so what is patching is all the operating systems, whether it is phone operating system of your phone or your laptop. It From time to time, some bugs are discovered by the security researchers of the OEM or by a third party or something, and they're trying to fix it. Other than the feature update, there are also security updates which come, whether it is phone, and these can be related to an app on the phone, this can be related to an operating system on the phone, or this can be related to an operating system on your laptop, desktop, all of that. So these updates are necessary. They are not very, even if you are not technical savvy, take help from someone. Ideally, when you had purchased it, if you ask the person who came to configure it, ask him to put it in the auto update mode. 99%, if you put it in auto update mode, it works. And for a home user, it's not going to create any problem. So do that as a home user. Do that. Update it. If you do not know, if you have to take help, take help. If you purchase a new laptop, you can always call up that company from where you're purchasing, and they help you. Their technician, their call center can help you how to configure it, or take a help from a friend if you're not sure. These days, you will find enough people who know these
Oh,
basics,
yeah.
and they will help you.
Nice. Okay, so I think that's all the questions we have from the audience. I have one last one from the
Mhm.
future technology perspective. And you, incidentally, you mentioned it during one of your responses to our audience, which is the use of AI and ML, right?
Yeah.
Now, all of us are working from home. And I think there was one point that you spoke about where it was very easy for me to connect with somebody on the production floor when I was working from office, right? So when an employee is working out of office and you're working on the production floor, you can just connect with someone who's sitting next to you at the desk and ask, hey, does this email kind of look okay? Or do you think this is a
Yeah.
valid request? Or something seems fishy or off about this particular transaction that has happened for one of my customers. So, but that's not possible today. And I think that's one area where AI, ML, or the future technology can kind of just highlight or send you an alert saying something is not right about a particular transaction that has happened. Or Sakshi made a transaction and she has usually not done anything like this in the past 3 years, 5 years. She's held an account with us. So you might want to kind of check in.
Yeah.
How do you see the use of the next generation technology helping to identify, alert, and kind of even prevent such
Yeah.
frauds from happening?
Yeah. Yes. So yes, you're right that AI and ML, both artificial intelligence and machine learning, has made a lot of progress in last few years, and it is now, and we can see we start seeing the benefits even in the cybersecurity space now. Many of the security vendors, security tools are making use of AI and ML. And making security intuitive. So as you know, when you go at the airport, there are clear arrows which says take left, take right, go here, go there. But in cybersecurity world, just now somebody raised a question that I don't know what is patching. So that means security is not intuitive. So what is happening with AI and ML coming in? It is slowly moving in that direction. Cybersecurity is also moving in that direction. There are a whole lot of companies which are working on this. Just taking an example, you talked about emails. You talked about the phishing. In fact, the email enterprise grade email security vendors, email products which are there, email security products which are there, they are using this now, these techniques which use the deep learning techniques to detect phishing malware and a whole lot of these things. Is it a fraudulent mail? Did it originate from really from the right server which is allowed to send? So a lot of these things are being built into the security products. Has it reached where it should be? No. But is it really protecting? It is protecting. It is helping. quite a lot of things are happening. And if it's an enterprise grade security product, many a times it tells you, hey, there is something suspicious here. And there are other things where it may even stop some of these mails from reaching you because it found it to be a phishing mail or a malware. But then is it a 100% solution to every problem? Answer is no. Similarly, on endpoint, we used to have somebody brought up a question around antivirus. So, and I said antivirus, the signature-based antivirus is kind of thing of the past now. These endpoint security vendors who are there, they are also using AI and ML techniques now, and to protect against malware. They're going beyond those signature-based protection which they used to have in the past. So these techniques are helping to identify what is not normal behavior of the machine, what is not normal behavior of the user, and they're raising flags. So if a user today, let's say, there is abnormal behavior from the user. So there is a guy in the security center will get an alert saying there is something fishy about this user. I saw him logged in from one country, from one place, and suddenly he's logging in from another place, which is 300 kilometers away, or which is not technically possible. So all these things which are coming in, which are helping improve the security posture of the organization. So all these, many of the security vendors have started utilizing these techniques in their products. Talk of data loss prevention. So all these data loss prevention tools these days, sorry, they use these techniques, AI and ML, to discover, classify, monitor, protect all the sensitive data which is coming in or which is going out. So there's a whole lot of work which is happening. Is it reached where it should be? No, there is a long way to go, but it is happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Devender, you are right.
That's
In
very,
fact,
very
whenever
interesting to know
you
because just like you said, it's true that you started. Sorry, I think I lost connectivity in between.
no, you are right.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
I started talking that way.
Okay. So I was saying we can actually see these users at a lot of different places these days. So the example, banking is one sector where, of course, we've seen it with our own eyes happening, or receiving an alert saying, "Hey, okay, if you haven't made this transaction or
Yeah.
something off happened, it's not in line with what you've done so far," or
Yep.
anything of that sort. Even if you're exchanging or you're sharing documents on collaborating platforms, I think they have started using a lot of AI and machine learning as well to make sure that, one, it's encrypted, and second, you're not doing anything that's kind of away from your usual behavior as a user. So that was very, very insightful, Devender. You were going to say something.
Yeah. I like at times when you change your say laptop also. Suppose you're logging in from a different platform, immediately you get an alert. Okay, this is the first time you are logging in from
Yeah.
say
You're right.
different laptop, different mobile, or different place. So those measures are there, but yes, you are right. Otherwise, a couple of months back there was a incident. ISRO. I mean, you can say that all the possible safety measures were there, but probably the report ultimately, which from the open source, whatever I saw, was that probably they said that this mail had come with some attachment from a known person, say a known vendor who was regular in sending the mail. So probably his account was hacked, and then they sent a mail, and with that,
Yep.
lot of things was compromised.
Yep.
So I mean, it can happen because that, again, the trust factor, the social engineering factor, besides the technical thing, also matters. The antivirus thing, you got to think of other things also. Maybe the common sense, which is not common in everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yes,
it's
Absolutely. You're right.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would also want to say that it's not always key. It's just a matter of common sense. But yes, we definitely have to be aware and satark
yes.
rahe, surakshit rahe at all
You have
times.
to be vigilant. Yeah. You have to be always.
Absolutely.
Actually, most of us are not aware only. That's the problem.
Yes.
Yes.
Most of us are using it, but we are not aware.
And they're
Yeah.
very creative, right? It's not like they will continue doing trying to scam you in just one particular way. 10 days down the line there'll be like a new thing that will be discovered. So it's not always easy to keep track either, but yes, as much as we can know, information will always kind of help.
Yeah, yeah. I think they moved on from the lottery scams which used to take place 10 years back, 5 years back,
Y-
or some
Yes,
So, so,
many.
inheritance scams.
Yeah, yeah. Many of those scams are taken a new form and shape these days. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
true.
But I still, let me tell you, I still get many times those SMSs which promise you, or those mail which promise you millions of dollars. That has not stopped.
It hasn't stopped.
Probably they must have realized that I don't have enough much money, so they're not sending me those mails.
Yes. Right.
Chalo,
Great.
that's great. I think it was a very, very insightful discussion, and a lot of things we've learned, and I'm sure the audience will learn. And once this is uploaded on YouTube and Facebook, more and more knowledge would be shared. It was very, very helpful, very knowledgeable, and a lot of practical tips you have shared. Devinder. Yes,
Oh,
Sakshi.
yes. Yeah, yeah, I would
Excellent.
totally agree. Thank you so much for being on the platform today, Devinder. It's been a wonderful discussion. And I have to say, there are a lot of things that, of course, while we knew, we still continue to do it, but a lot of new information on how we can make sure that our personal information stays personal and doesn't kind of get attacked. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. And a big thank you to all the viewers who've joined us today. Do share it on with anyone that you think this would be relevant to, which honestly I think absolutely everybody who's using technology today. And that's about it. Join us next Saturday for the next session. And uh, thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure
Thank you
being
very
on this
much.
platform. Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you.